Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bryony and I am one half of the Indecisive Readers. Before I start, I've got a couple of disclaimers. One, I'm sorry if the video's on a slant. I don't currently have any filming equipment, and so you're just kind of stacked on top of a couple of things that make you as tall as I want you to be. And the other one is, although I'm going to be talking about a lot of books that I don't have physically, I'm not actually going to put a picture up or anything because the software I have on my phone and my laptop don't allow me to currently do that, and whilst I can still sand stuff a couple of times, I don't want to do it all the time. So yeah, that is before I start. I'm sorry. Today I'm going to be answering the questions from the end of the year book tag. I know it's very near the end of the year, it's November the 5th now, so I've only got 2 months left to talk about, but I didn't have the channel running before, so I just couldn't answer them. But in the last couple of weeks I've seen a couple of people answer the questions. I first saw Fire Breathing Reader and then I saw a book of Heather. And so I will link both of their videos down below as well as the original video. And so yeah, now it's my turn to answer those questions, I suppose. The first question is, are there any books you've already started this year that you need to finish? There are a few that I had left over from university, but they're books I'm not necessarily interested in reading, so I've got no desire to read them or finish reading them. I would kind of just read the first 50 pages and then be like, well, it's a seminar now, I suppose I've run out of time. But because we were reading a book every week, I just never finished anything, so yeah. But there are 3 books that I would like to finish. The first is The Power by Naomi Alderman. I did actually start reading this 2 years ago, and I did join up to a feminist book club, but again it was the kind of, I wouldn't read the books because I'd feel guilty for not reading my university books, which is a problem I had all year, or all 3 years. And so I started it and then didn't finish it. But someone was telling me it was really good, and then I did a feminist writing module last year and really enjoyed The Handmaid's Tale and sort of wanted to do something similar to that as my final piece. So I started reading it again, and then I stopped again. Pretty much in the same place. I may have got like another 20 pages on, but I just stopped reading, and I don't know why. It's not that I'm not enjoying it, but I just always put it down and then never pick it up. So I would really like to finish reading it because I think I was about halfway through, so it shouldn't be too hard, but now it's back on my shelf, I kind of forget it's there. I'm not necessarily rushing to pick it up, but I will. The second book I want to finish is Tangleweed and Brine by Deirdre Sullivan. I started reading it for the Myth Tape Readathon, but I set myself too many books on my TBR for 2 weeks, so I just didn't finish it. It's just a collection of short stories, so I'd be surprised if I didn't finish that by the end of the year. The third book I want to finish is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. I don't know how to say it. I'm terrible with names. But I picked this book up in June. Sam and I went to Gaze the Word in London, and I obviously wanted a memento from it, and so I picked it up. And then I started reading it. I think I must have been reading something else at the time, and I prioritised the other thing over it. You know what, it may have been Priory, and obviously that took the priority because it was chunky and I wanted to finish it in June. But I also read some reviews about it, which is a mistake. I now never read reviews before a book. But one thing that really stuck with me was there was one girl who was horsey, and I am horsey, so when people are horsey in books, it feels a bit jarring just because it sometimes doesn't feel like they've done the research. But the main problem I had was the horsey girl. Her nickname was Mare, which is a name for a horse. And you could have given her another nickname. It just felt, that whole thing just felt a bit clunky then, because I just couldn't get that out of my head. So I would like to finish that because I want to support it. It was by a smaller author and it sounds like it should be cute. And I was really excited when I picked it up, so I should pick it back up. The second question is, do you have any autumnal books that will transition you into the end of the year? The short answer is no, mainly because where I haven't been reading for ages, I'm just kind of picking up whatever books take my fancy. But the longer answer is yes, but I've already read them. I'll link below to my October wrap up, but in October I read a lot of autumnal books, or at least books I thought were autumnal, and also a lot of books that were Halloweeny, given that last month had Halloween, so I read books with monsters and witches and stuff. So I feel like I've read a lot of my books that I would consider autumnal, but I haven't necessarily thought of it before. So the best one I could answer you with would be The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And the only reason I say that is because I remember something in there saying that All Hallows Eve was a great night at the circus, but then there's a lot of like, there's the ice garden and there's magic, and that sounds kind of Christmassy. But I don't have any Christmassy books that spring to mind, but I've kind of got a few on my list that could be, so I'll check in with you next year and tell you if that has changed. The third question is, are there any new releases you're still looking forward to? The answer is sort of. Today is November the 5th, and the two books I have written down I think actually come out today. The two books I have written down are Erin Morgenstern's The Starless Sea and Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Yang. I actually read the latter in September. I got an ARC off NetGalley and I really liked it, but I have ordered the physical book. And likewise with The Starless Sea, I've brought the Illumicrate box. So yes, they have actually come out or are coming out today, but I don't have them here. Just say that they are mine. The next question is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? And I feel like that was kind of answered in the first one. I have come up with 3 different answers. The first is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I brought this in July when I went to Yauk, but it was kind of on my radar since about May. I'd heard lots of people talking about it on Bookstagram and stuff. And then I went to a talk in August in Waterstones Piccadilly where she was talking to S.A. Chakraborty, and their talk was amazing, and so I just really need to pick it up. It's been on my TBR, like my tentative TBR, since about September, but I just haven't picked it up and started it. But I know once I do, I will really enjoy it, so I just need to do that. The other book, I've got technically 4 books on here. The next book is sort of 2 books, and it's my read for November and December for Mythtake Reads. And the first I'm going to read is Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and the second is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. The theme for November and December is Slavic folklore, and we can choose any books we want, but I'd heard Ashley at Frolic Through Fiction talk about The House with Chicken Legs and it sounded really cute, and my library had it, and I had already brought it Uprooted on the Kindle because it was only 99p, and that is what Charlotte is reading. So I am actually reading the same books as the hosts again, but that's kind of accidental, I suppose, or not planned completely. And the third/4th book I want to read is The Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Bourne. It came out in October and Sam read it then, and it's been on my shelf, and I love Holly Bourne's books, so I will pick that up. But when I will pick it up is the question. I'd quite like to do it this year. The 5th question, I think, is there a book that you think may still become your favourite book of the year? And I think my answer is no. There are a few books I think that might be books I really, really like that new Holly Bourne one, but I don't think any's going to be my favourite. Because I haven't read a lot recently, I'm reading a lot of books that I know I will like Nevernight and The Bone Season, and I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but I'm reading lots of series that I've heard good things about over like the last 3 years. And so I've had a lot of really good reads this year, but I think my favourite will be The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. But then I also really like Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. So there are a lot that will be my favourite. Well, there aren't going to be a lot that will be my favourite. So there will be a lot that I really, really like this year, but I think I found my favourite. The final question is, have you already started making reading plans for 2020? When I first saw this, I thought, no, I don't plan in advance, that's why I'm called the indecisive reader. But as I was writing it, I was like, oh, that book comes out, that book comes out, that book comes out, and I didn't realise that. But or I didn't realise that before. I didn't realise I'm not very good with keeping up to date with what's coming out. But there are 3 books that I know sequels are coming out to, or new books are coming out by authors I've already read, so I'm gonna check those out for sure. The first is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. It's the 3rd book in the David trilogy, and I really loved the first 2, and I can't wait for the final one to come out. Because when I went to go and see her in London, I hadn't completely finished the 2nd book. And I said, I was a bit worried because I hadn't finished it. And so I was a bit worried about spoilers. And she was like, don't worry, I wasn't going to say anything today because I planned to wreck you all in the 3rd book. So I gave her a thumbs up and cried, probably. The next book is the 4th untitled book in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. I read the first 2 earlier on in the year, and I finished The Song Rising last night and I loved it, so I'm obviously very excited for the next one. And the final book I have that I definitely know I want to read is The Switch by Beth O'Leary, who is the author of The Flatshare, and because I love The Flatshare so much, I hope you will like that one. And I'll probably reread The Flatshare next year, but also Sam occasionally just puts the audiobook on, so I occasionally reread it anyway. The other book I want to reread is The Priory of the Orange Tree, because I just loved it so much, so when the paperback comes out, I just obviously want to read it again. And I've got the audiobook and the Kindle edition, so I can just read it now, but I want the new book and I want to read that, so yeah. I haven't made any other official reading plans. I've always got a library list of books I might pick up, so V.E. Schwab's book I've never read, so I'd quite like to pick up some of hers in the future. But also there are a few videos or blog posts I need to write or film, so there are books I need to read for them or to help them, like I want to do a Priory video on feminism, and so there are a few books I need to read for that. And there are like TV shows coming out which are based on books, so I want to read those. But I don't think, other than those like 4 or 5 books I've listed, I don't think I've got any I definitely will be reading. But who knows? I'm indecisive and I may yet change my mind. I hope some of these answers might be interesting to you, or you might do the video yourself. And let me know your reading plans for the rest of 2019. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you're interested, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!